Hi fellow developers, welcome back to SFDC Panther. And today we are going to learn how we can use design attributes in Lightning Web Components. And that means there was a component named design in our components. So we are going to replicate that here in our Lightning Web component. And we'll also see how we can configure, how we can add some more configuration in our configuration file. And then we will also see what are all the Salesforce modules that are available that we can use, and we can get some key information we can how we can get the labels in LWC, and then how we can access the static resources, how we can access user information, and then how we can access the object and field information, and there are some initialization properties that we can access with the help of Salesforce modules, that we don't need to write any line of code for all these information. So let's go ahead and start doing all these things. So first thing what we'll do, we will create a new lightning component where what we will be doing, let me walk you through what we will be doing. So if we open our application page here, that is LWC recipes. So if we'll open this and we'll go back to the Lightning App Builder, we will see we are not able to default value for any uh, Lightning application, sorry, any Lightning web component here. So what the requirement here we are going to achieve is we will be creating some property in the XML in our configuration file that will be responsible, that will be used for getting the by default data for our for some of fields that we wanted. If there is some required to use a particular component, there are some particular variables, some values that you wanted to prior to use any web component, that can be done, and that all can be handled by the configuration file here. We don't need to create some design attributes and all. So if you select here, you can see there is let it be here, let it come. You can see here there is no configuration here, or there is no fields that is saying that you have to put some values here. uh, just we are getting component visibility. So now what we are going to do is we will create a component, and we will uh, put some new thing to our configuration file. We will learn how we can use our component inside the community builder or inside community as a page, and then we will also see how we can mm, populate the user, how we can ask the user some information, some prior information before using the component. So let's go ahead, create a component. I will name it as design LWC demo. And then first thing that we will do, we will configure the design file. We will see what are all the available targets that we can have in our XML file. So let's go first expose it so that we can use. Now we need to define, we can also define some master level here. So and let's say that we wanted to master level as design attribute here, design attribute in LWC. And then we need to define the targets where we wanted to use this particular component. So let's define the targets first here. So here, let's say that I wanted to use in this inside app page, and then I also wanted to use inside the record page as well. And then let's make it for Lightning community. So using lightning default, lightning community underscore default, what it will do, it will make visible our component to the lightning community builder. And if you wanted to use in lightning as a lightning page inside a page, we can just add a lightning community underscore page. So all this we have one more target that we can use is that is home page. So let's use that as well. Lightning underscore, let's say that home page. So now as we have done, we have defined all the targets. Now if you wanted to define in which under which object we wanted to use this particular component, or if you wanted to use if you wanted to define for on which page what kind of variable, what kind of input we wanted from the user, we can also define that. So where we can define that, there is a tag called target configs. So it will be target configs, and just type opening as closing, and then inside target configs we can define our target config. So in target config we can define targets. These targets, the target here what we can define is whatever the target here we have defined. So let's say that inside lightning app page and lightning home page, here we can provide multiple targets separated by comma. So here in lightning home page, what I wanted some input from the user, that I can say that greeting. So let's create here, we don't need to create like for creating the attribute. What we need to do is we need to type property. We can name it as let's say that we are naming it at greeting, and then we need to provide the type. What is type? Let's say that it's string, and I don't want it to I don't want it to use any other attribute here. Now let's say that for writing record page, I have some other variables that I wanted to some other inputs that I wanted from the user to provide before using my component. So here let's provide the target as writing record page, and I can just use the target config here. Let's close this property as well, otherwise it will give the error. So now what we'll do is we can just create one more attribute. We can say that let's say that anything, let's say that we wanted to some heading that will be type of string. So we can also provide, let's say that for the record page I wanted to use this component inside only account and contact record page. So I can also define that. I can also define, so for which what we need to do is we just need to use a tag called objects, that will be opening and closing tags, and then inside tag objects we just need to define object, and I'm just defining account and then object, and let's say that I'm defining one more object that is called as contact here, and then okay. So now if I wanted to use this particular component inside opportunity detail page or inside any custom object detail page, I will not be able to use, because in my configuration file I have defined that I just the only in the objects where this particular component will be available or contact and account. So now from where these particulars, how we can use these attributes inside our HTML file or inside our JS file. So what we need to do is we need to use these parameters. We need to create these two attributes inside our JavaScript file. So let's go ahead and create these two attributes. So we just need to the attributes need to be of type API. If you are using any other type like track or so it will give you error. So we just need to use here API here. So now we can use this attribute and we can just show the value of attribute whatever user is entering. So here let's say that We are using lightning card. Title I will say that design demo, and then for icon I can just use any custom icon. So I will use custom colon custom 5, and then inside this I can just go ahead and paste the greeting, and then inside after that I'll just can type heading here. So heading. So now if I will try to push this, I must be able to push the code into the source org, and then we'll able to see. So let's try to push the code into the org, and we will see. And after doing this, we will see how we can use the Salesforce modules. What are all the Salesforce modules available, and how we can use, and what are the resource where you can access all these the more information about the Salesforce attributes. So you can see we have successfully pushed. We didn't get any error here. So now let's go back to our org. Here you can see let's soft refreshes. Okay, we successfully refreshed. We can also refresh this particular component. So now if you try design attributes, here you can see we are able to see the design attributes here. So this is why we are able to see, because we have used in the configuration file lightning app page. So this is why we are getting here. So now let's drag and drop here anywhere, and here we will also see in the input fields here you can saying that greeting. So what we need to do is, let's say that I am in configuration file, see config file. So as soon as you will go out of the input, you will get the output here as well. And we are not able to get this heading. Why we are not able to get the heading? Because we have defined the target config, the targets as lightning record page. Inside the lightning record page, we will be able to see these headings, but we will not able to see this greeting, because the greeting will only be available in home page and application page. So let's save it, and after saving we'll go back to some record detail page, and we'll also see if we are able to see the difference or not. So here you can see we are able to see whatever the value we have provided in the input. So now let's go to the account detail page, and here in the account and contact we will try with these two objects, and we'll also try for other objects like case or opportunity, if you are able to see that particular component there or not. So let's edit this, and once it will open, we'll also do this the same with the contact as well. So here let's edit this as well. Let's find this design attribute here. We are able to see here, if you drag and drop, sorry, if you drag and drop this component here, and on the right hand side, you will be able to see the input that will say saying that heading. Here you can see that heading. So here we can also see, let's say that LWC underscore recipes. I'm using this only. Here I will get the same thing. So we can save it, and after saving we can go back to the record page, and then this is the contact. So we can also type here design. We are also getting design attribute here as well. So if you want, you can go ahead and test the same here. What I'll do, I'll just go back. I was just wanted to show that we are able to see. I'll go back and find some other object called cases or opportunities. So let's go ahead to the case. I'll find case here, and then I will not be having any case. Yeah, I do have. So what I'll do, I'll just go ahead and edit this page. So let's edit the page, and we'll see if you are able to see that. And the output must be like, we should not be able to see that particular component, this component on case object, because we are restricting from our configuration file. So let's wait until this particular builder is loaded. So now it's loaded. We just need to type design here on the search. You can see that we are not able to see any component here, any custom component inside this. So if you will add case here and then go back to the their page, case detail page, and you will edit with the help of Lightning App Builder, you will be able to see and that you are able to see the component there in case detail page as well. So this is how, like, this is something that you can, where you can use the targets. You can define targets where you want it to use. Then we can also define the target configs. Inside that target configs, you can define the objects where you want it to use. You can define the properties. That means you can define the value, the attributes that you wanted to take the input from the users and that are required prior to use the component. And here what you need to keep in mind is the name of this particular, whatever the name you are providing to the property, that name must be available here in the JavaScript file with the help of as an API attribute. You can't use track attribute. Let me show you. If you will use track attribute, I can say that message here, and I need to import the track from LWC as well. So let's go ahead and import that here, and I will use this inside our JavaScript. Let's say that here I'm using property. I'll name it as message. I will give type as string and we'll close this one. Now let's try to push the code and we will get the error that the attribute named message is not available. You can see we are getting the error. The message property doesn't exist on the component, and as soon as we will make it as API, we will be able to use this particular, like we'll be able to push, and then we'll also get two attributes while we are using the page inside record page. So let's see if you are not getting the error for this track thing. Yeah, we are successfully able to push the code. For the testing purpose, we can also go back to the contact and test if you are able to see two attributes or not on the detail while we are using the component. In the meanwhile, the builder is being loaded. Let me walk you through where you can get the more information about Salesforce modules that we are going to use. So let's first see what are all Salesforce modules available here. So here you can see we already saw how we can call the fs class with the help from the JavaScript. So there is a Salesforce module that we already imported, and that is @salesforce /apex. And then we also have Salesforce I18N, and that is used for fetching the initialization properties, like locale, what are the language, what is the currency, and what is the date time, what date time user follows, and all that. And then at Salesforce label is used for fetching the custom labels from our Salesforce org. And then Salesforce schema is used for referencing any object, custom or standard object and its field. And then at Salesforce user is responsible for getting the user information, including the ID. So we'll see. Let's go ahead and see where we will get more information about this. So if you go to the Lightning component library, and then we'll click on developer guide, you just need to click on reference here, and after reference you will need to scroll down and just click on Salesforce module link, and after that you will get redirect to the all the Salesforce modules that are available here. So we already saw how we can invoke the fs class from Lightning web component, so we are not going to cover this here in this video. We are going to cover initialization properties. We are going to fetch language, we are going to fetch locale, we are going to fetch currency. Here we are going to fetch three things with the help of initialization properties. So if you wanted to know what are all the initialization properties, you can just click on this link, and after you will click on the link, you will get to know like language, directory, direction of text, locale, and the currency, first day of week. So there are many like time zone. So we'll just use language, locale, and currency. And then after that, we'll also look how we can fetch the custom labels, see how we can use static resources, how we can use schema, and then user, how we can fetch the user ID. So this is what we are all going to do next. So let's see. For the contact builder, and we are going to use design attribute here. Just drag and drop, and we'll see if you are able to see those two attributes or not. You can see we are able to see headings, and we are able to put messages as well. So I can say that and from config file and then else LWC recipes. So as we are not able to see message here because we are not using message in our HTML file. So let's save it, and for the demo, like for Salesforce modules, we are also going to use the same component, so we don't need to edit the builder again and again. So now what we'll do, we will create custom label here and an static resource. So for static resource, what we will do, we will use a trailhead image. So we'll download a trailhead image, then use that image. We will upload that image here. So let's say that we are using this particular image, and we don't need to open the link, just open the image here. Okay, cool. So now let's go to the first, we will create some label here, and then we will create a static resource as well. So let's create label here. We will name it as test label or anything. So let's name it test label, and we will see it custom label inside scratch org. That's it. Let's save it. We will be using this. And so let's let's import the label, and then we will create the static resource. So to import the label, what we need to do is we just need to type import, and then the name of label, you can give any name, and then we need to type from at Salesforce, then add /, it will be label, and then before using the label name, we just need to type the namespace here. So the default namespace is C, so we are going to type C dot name of the label here. And now what we'll do here, we will create an attribute. We can say that API API here, and we will name it as label equal to, and we will be using all these test label here inside, and then we'll use this label in our HTML file. Or you can also go ahead and create a attribute for, let's say, that track label equal to test label, and that will also do the trick. But as we are going to use multiple things here, static resource and all that, so this is why I'm using this format, so that I can use this in once. I don't need to create variables again and again for each and everything. So now let's go ahead and create the static resource. So I'll use static resource, and in the meantime, let's save this image. I will say that test resource. Oh, where I did saved? Let me. Oops. I'll just go to the download folder. It is in D. Okay, D drive. So now let's go to the static resource. Click on new, and just type it test resource. Choose the file, it is in D drive, so I'll go to the D drive. I will find that file here, make the cache control as public, save it. So now let's go ahead and import this resource as well. So to import the resource, we need to follow the same. That will be import name of the resource from @Salesforce, and then we need to type resource URL. Let me walk through once. This is resource URL. It's resource URL and then the name of the resource. So name of resource is static resource. Sorry, test resource. So here we will use this. Oops, it will be inside. Then here we will just put comma and we'll use this. Save it. So now let's use this particular thing inside our HTML file. So what we'll do, let's keep heading. Instead of heading, we'll use message here and then use a paragraph, and we'll try label dot what was this? It was test label. Oops, it was test label, and then we had that we will be using, we had an image. So what we will do, we'll use img src equal to, it will be label dot test resource. Oops, save it. So now let's push the code and we'll see if you're able to see the value of a label and the image as well. Okay, now we have successfully able to push. Let's so clear the console and go to the org and refresh the page. We will be able to see that particular thing. You can see that we are able to see a custom label inside a scratch org, and we are also able to see a big tailored image with astro here. So what we'll do, just try to add a CSS file here as well, so that you can also know about the CSS how you can use. So let's create a new file. Here we will type design LWC demo.css. So what we'll do, because if you are using CSS here, we can't leave it is blank. So what we need to do is, we are going to format the image here. So I'll do width as 50 px. I can give it as 100 px, and then I'll do height as 100 px as well, and then I will also give border radius, so it will be 50%. So I'm just assuming what could be the output of image. So this is how. Now let's go ahead and see what are all the initialization properties that are left. So here is the lightning component developer guide. We are good here. Resource URL, we will see schema object, and we will see user. So first let's see how we can use the user ID. So this is the thing that we need to use for user ID. So let's copy this and we'll paste here. We will import the same thing that we are doing. So we will use this user ID here. Inside HTML, we'll just use that label.user ID. Now let's try to post this and see if you are able to see the current user ID or not. In the meanwhile, the code has been pushed. So let's see for the demo first. Try to refresh it, and the image would be in a circle, inside a small circle. You can see that we are able to see the circle that is small, and we are also able to see the ID of a user, and it starts with 005, and that the user ID is always starts with 005. So let's do apply some CSS here as well. So what we'll do, we'll apply some standard CSS. We'll go SLDS, and I will apply some margins from the all around. So let's type it here, padding. Go to the location around, and I will use this particular thing. Copy this complete division here. We'll paste, copy the complete code, paste that inside division. Okay, this is it. Now we are also able to see. Now let's do import some schema. Like what we'll do, we'll import account object. So I will import, I will say that it's account object from at Salesforce schema, and then we just need to put the name of account here, put the name of object, and let's say that if you wanted to import name field, you can just use from at the Salesforce schema, and then name of the object, and then dot field name, whatever the field API name is here. If the field API name is custom, you just need to use that custom. So here on the account object, we can also use here account object as well, and the name field as well. So oops, I can type name field here. So let me copy this account object. So if you wanted to see the API name, or if you wanted to mainly this like these two lines are important. This whenever we are working with data, let's say that we are getting some data with the help of some lightning modules, we are creating the records with the help of lightning modules, then these things are important. But in the meanwhile, what we can do is we can just go ahead and use this account object, and we will also see the API name that is called as object API name. So what we'll do here, I will create another paragraph here, and we'll type label dot account object dot object API name. So what it will do, it will return the object API name here. So that is object, that is account itself. So let's go here and we will see if you are able to see that or not. And I think we didn't go through with the initialization properties. So the code had been pushed without any error. So let's now import the initialization properties as well. I will say that language, I'll import from at the red Salesforce / its I18N, and then I need to import language here. Oops, it's from, and then I will import, it will be local, and then it will be currency, And let me import time zone as well here. Z is captured in time zone. And now use all these here, and let's say that label, sorry, it's language, then it's local, then it's currency, and then time zone. Not this, small one. Okay, we are not going to post the code. First, we will see if you are able to see the object API name, that is account. That should be account here, and then we will try to post the code, and we'll see what are all the other information we are able to see. You can see we are able to see account here. So now let's go ahead and put all these things, language, local, currency, time zone, in the HTML. So what I'll do, I'll create a lightning layout here. I'll give vertical align as always center, and lightning I will give padding as a small, around small. And then we'll use here, I will name it as label dot language, and I will use all these. For 4 it will be local, it will be currency, and then it will be time zone. So now let's see, try to push the code, see the output. Yeah, it's successfully pushed. Go to the application, refresh the page, and now we will see some magical items here. So we will see language, and we will see local. You can see we are able to see the language, we are able to see local, we are able to see currency, we are also able to see time zone. We can also fetch all the initialization properties that we wanted to. So let's go back and have a recap here. What we learn how we can use design attribute, how we can apply design attribute in Lightning Web Components, how we can configure our XML file if you wanted to restrict in which component, in which object we wanted to use our component, what are all the properties that must be available in different record pages or application page, home page, and what are all Salesforce modules that we saw. And we also saw how we can create a CSS file, and if you have a CSS file, there must be some CSS including there. If you haven't, and if you try to push, it will give you an error. I hope you have learned something new here, and thank you for watching. We'll see you on next video.